Have you ever found yourself staring at a screen, trying to figure out how to iterate over JSON in React? It can be a bit tricky, right? If that's you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're going to break it down step by step. I totally understand how confusing it can be when you're trying to display data from JSON in your React components. You're not alone in this struggle. Many developers face similar challenges when working with props. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One user recently asked, how can I iterate over the highlights data.data props to call another component, passing down label and value? This is a common question, so let's dive into it together. So what exactly is the issue here? The user is trying to display specific properties from a JSON object in their React component. This involves understanding how to map through the data and pass it to child components effectively. And don't go anywhere. I've got a handy tip at the end that will make your React coding even smoother. To iterate over the highlights data, the user should first map through the highlights data.data object. This will allow them to access each key value pair in the object. Next, the user should render the mapped components inside the return statement of the render method. This will display each highlight component on the screen. Additionally, the user should ensure that the highlight component is properly defined. This component will receive the label and value as props. Finally, the user can test their implementation to ensure that the highlights are displayed correctly. They should check the browser to see if the components render as expected. Fun fact, did you know that React was developed by Facebook and is now one of the most popular libraries for building user interfaces? It's amazing how far we've come in web development. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach suggests using the map function to iterate over the highlights data. Each element can be passed to a component called SomeComponent, where you can directly send the label and value as props. Additionally, you could send the entire item to SomeComponent and access label and value within the child component using props. Let's check out another perspective from a different user. An alternative approach shared by another user involves using the object.keys method to iterate over the JSON data. They suggest mapping through the keys of the JSON object and returning a span element for each key value pair. Let's check out another perspective from a different user. An alternative approach provided by a user involves creating a separate highlight component. This component receives the label and value as props and displays them. In the highlights component, the user destructures the highlights data and renders multiple highlight components, passing the respective data for active, automatic, waiting, and manual. Here's the tip I promised. Always remember to check your data structure. Knowing whether you're dealing with an array or an object can save you a lot of headaches. And there you have it. You should now be able to iterate over JSON in React and pass down props to your components. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button for more tips and don't miss our next video where we tackle more React challenges.